Hey guys, welcome back to Culture in a Cup. My name is Jade. I'm your host and I will always be your host. I am in a different setting, as you can see. There were a bit of personal things that came up for me. And so today we are in a bit of a different setting. Who doesn't love a vibe change? I know I do. Also, I wanted to do a bit of a different intro today, a little bit longer than normal, just because I know last week I promised that Hayden Curley, my dear friend, would be here with me today, but there was a bit of a change just because of the personal stuff I am going through right now, and life happens. Life is life, and life be lifing for everybody. So no sweat, but I thought this could be a really cool opportunity to do a little solo episode and kind of get to talk about my origin story a little bit and talk about some of the personal challenges that I have faced stepping into leadership, being in leadership, and continuing to want to grow as a leader. So I think this is going to be super cool. And I think since this is a podcast that I host all the time, I feel like I may not get to talk as much as I typically would. Which is not either a bad thing either, but I think it's cool to also get to know your host a little bit more on that deeper level. And so I'm super excited. I apologize that this episode is uploading a little bit later, but again, just some personal stuff kind of went on, so that is what it is. But we're still here and we're still getting it done. We're still getting this ish done. You're seeing the show. So I'm super excited for this episode with you guys. And I can't wait for you guys to get to learn a little bit more about me. So let's get right into it. Hey again, you guys. I'm back. It's me. So today I kind of want to talk about my life a little bit. And I think everybody's story is unique, as I've talked about several times. And I just want to also be able to share my story. And I think a lot of times people's lives, of course, reflect where they are now and how they got here. So we're gonna kind of dig in a little bit more on a personal level, a work level. We're kind of gonna cover all of that. Probably dab a little bit with the personal stuff, nothing too crazy, but so I'm super excited. My name is Jade. Just like in every episode, I want to introduce my guest, which is also me. I'm Jade. I am 23 years old. I am from San Antonio, Texas. I am born and raised here. I currently am a shop lead, which means assistant manager, at Dutch Bros. I've been with the company for about 3.5 years now. I love it. I love every second of it. I love going into my job every single day, and it never changes. Before that, though, my life looked very, very different. So let's kind of get into that real quick. Ever since I was in an early age, I feel like I have taken more of a leadership role in everything that I do. Even from now that I was thinking about this before I was filming this episode, and even when I was like a kid playing with like other kids outside and whatnot, I always like kind of took that charge more of like, I don't think this is right, or we should probably do this instead. And it was never necessarily a bossy tone. I never liked that, but I think that reflected a lot on my personal life. I am a child of divorce. My parents have been divorced my whole life. It's really all I've ever known. I've never known them together, ever. Only the stories. But I feel like that's, I don't want to say common or uncommon. I honestly don't know. For me, it's normal. I think that had an effect on me as a person, of course. I think it has allowed me to navigate throughout my life the way that I do and how I want to proceed with my future. And in terms of like my relationships, that has definitely affected me. but also both of my parents were leaders in different ways, and both of my parents were coaches. They both coached volleyball, but they were both very different. And I got to see that firsthand on the differences between them. And also, that was my first taste of that and first step into leadership, I think, was learn from them. And I think I implemented the things that I wanted to from them into my way of leading. Of course, as I said, they both coached volleyball, so I played volleyball. I played so many sports. I played softball, I played basketball, I played volleyball, indoor, sand volleyball. I dabbled a little bit with track. I never got to actually do it because it always overlapped with something else that I was doing, some other sport. But even from a young age, like I was saying, with my parents, like I took more of those leadership roles. I feel like a lot of the times, I'm also an only child. I kind of forgot to throw that in. And I feel like a lot of people don't think I'm an only child because I don't let off that vibe. I always tend to take more of a mom role, an older sister vibe. And so I think it's funny because I never got that, but that is how I am to others. I think for stepping into sports, that was something that I enjoyed so much, is that I got to be with so many other people and so many other people of my age, like sisters. That's literally what it was. And it was so nice that in almost every sport that I was in and every team that I was on, I took more of that leader role. And so it was super nice even from like the beginning, like in club volleyball in like 12s. I was the captain of that team, and like and obviously a 12-year-old in leadership looks very different than a 23-year-old in leadership. Very different in very different aspects of life, positions, environments. It's something that is so crazy to look back at and be like, even though I was in a leadership role, it's just so different. But in that point of your life, it's almost corresponds the same. So that's pretty cool. So most of my life I learned about leadership through sports, through athletics, through my parents. And that helped give me a little start once I started maturing a little bit. So played volleyball my whole life. Up into college, I went to the University of Oregon and I played beach volleyball there. That was pretty cool. And then I came back home. I had some personal stuff go on. So I ventured back here to little San Antonio, Texas. Yet again, I found myself here. And I love it. I love it here. And as I was moving back, I was like, oh my gosh, there's a Dutch Bros here? That's so cool. There's a bunch of them in Oregon, and that's how I was so familiar with it. And I was like, why not work at this place? I know it's fun. I know it's dope. Like, I know everybody always has a good time, good vibes. It's fast paced. Like, that's exactly what I want to do. I always like to be moving. So that's what I did. I applied and I got the job, and I was super excited. And little did I know, this little blue roof was going to change my life completely. And it makes me so happy to say that, and I am joyed every time I get to talk about this. I came into Dutch at a very low point in my life, I feel like. I think for me that was like probably right around when I got hired to like that first year was probably my hardest part of my life, I would say. My grandma had passed away a little bit before, probably honestly, like right when I applied is right around when she passed. I just moved back from Oregon from my dream school and getting to play a collegiate sport there. And now I just was like living this normal life, and I never knew a normal life. I was always busy playing sports. All my time went to sports. I had a summer job before, but that was like right before I went to college. It was for fun. I was a lifeguard at freaking Schlitterbahn. Like it wasn't nowhere near the same. And I was struggling a lot with my mental health, my physical health. I was probably the heaviest that I have been during that first year. And I'll say it, the drinks at Dutch Bros weren't helping me because I was like, oh, this is so good. This is so good. I love it. And I had no self-control. And I think I cannot give enough gratitude to Fez and Jenna for hiring me at Dutch Bros. And it's something that's so incredible. And I think when people who first start at Dutch Bros or who don't even work here, and I just tell them these things and how I feel about it, it almost seems fake. It almost seems too good to be true. It seems fake. There's like no way it's like that deep, but it really is that deep. Because if somebody would have came to me and told me that at the very beginning, I would have been like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? What? And this job really shapes you into a great human being. And that's what it's done for me. And I've seen it do that for countless other people. Like, it's crazy. Back on track a little bit. I got hired at Dutch Bros. I got trained by the mob, which is super sick. I'm still friends with some of those people that literally trained me. And some of those people I have been on mob trips with when I became a mobster. Oh, God, that's crazy. Okay, I got hired in October of 2022 at Dutch Bros. And I was trained. I was at our second location in my operation. And I got to meet a bunch of really cool people. And one of these really cool people, his name was Mustafa Moose. I talked about a little bit. I've talked about him the past 2 episodes I have produced for you guys, just a little bit. He was one of the managers at our first shop. He just came through all the time, and I loved his energy. I loved what he stood for. And he was going to be the manager of our third location that was opening up. And I remember texting my operator, and I was like, I would love to go to this third shop if there's room. And I got to go to the third shop. I think that shop opened in January of 2023. So I was at the first shop maybe 2.5 months. And I still love that shop. I had such a blast at that shop. Like, it was so, I felt like it was very Dutch core also. So I go to this third shop and with some new people, and it was super cool. I loved it. My assistant manager is also one of my best friends now. Like, their name is Gabby. They're super cool. While being at this shop, I learned so much. I learned about family. I learned about culture. I feel like I really learned about how to bring people together. That's what I learned from Mustafa. And instantly, from the second I even got hired and I experienced that first week at Dutch, I knew like I wanted to be a shift lead, which is that first step after just being hired and being a barista. And come back to end of March of 2023, I got promoted to shift lead at this third shop that I was at with Moose. And I worked so hard. I was doing a lot. I think it was in April. I'm pretty sure it was April, actually. April 2023. And I just learned a lot of love, a lot of care. People really genuinely gave an F. I'm going to say that. I don't want to say the whole word. But they really cared. Like, really, really cared. And I still care. But in that moment, like, I was like, wow, I want to pour everything I have. And it's crazy because that was 3 years ago, and I still feel the same way every day. I think it's just so crazy how much every time I think about this, I think it's so insane how much I've learned from every different person. And to wrap it up a little bit, I was with Moose for about a year. I was at that shop. I was there from January to early February of the following year. But my time at that third shop, I got promoted to shift lead April of 2023. And then soon after that, I was like, I really want to be a full-time shift lead. And on episode 1, you kind of heard a lot about kind of like what that position looks like, because Dan is currently my full-time shift lead. Kind of crazy. So in August of 2023, I was promoted to full-time shift lead at that same shop. Something I was really working hard for, and I was very vocal about that I really wanted it, and I wanted to give all my extra time to the shop, and I was always there. If I wasn't working, I was probably at the shop. I had to literally learn to set my boundaries that when I'm off, when it's my off days, I'm not at work. I really had to learn that, because I was working, and if I wasn't working, I was hanging out at my work. And I said, I need balance. I need to learn balance, because this is too much. And it's something that's it's so great to talk about, because so many people are like, I don't want to be at my job. I wouldn't even think about hanging around there. I would just go and hang out in the back. I would go do my homework in the back of the shop, just to be with my friends and be with people I loved being around all the time. I think Mustafa really, and I talked about this last time, like, he holds a very, very special place in my heart. He taught me so much. Sorry guys. He really taught me how to lead with love and bring people together. And he always was somebody to talk to. And this clearly goes to show how much of an impact he had on me. And now he's just like a really great friend and somebody that I look up to. And I remember in end of January of 2024, I was asked to move to one of, at the time, our busiest shop, to be there full time, because they really needed one, and they needed help with some other things that I can help with. And I was like, yes, I'm always down. I'm down for new opportunities, and I know with every new opportunity comes a new learning experience, and I am constantly hungry for that, and I want to learn more. And the hardest thing was probably leaving that shop, because all of my best friends were there. One of the most influential people in my life was my boss, and it was so amazing. It was so hard to leave. But I really think that was the turning point for me, was leaving that shop. And I think it's something that's so scary for so many people, and that change can be so scary. But a lot of the times, change is what you need, and change is going to show you some great things. Might be hard, might be really, really freaking hard at first. But it's going to do some serious good for you in the long run. So now I'm at Med Center. Oh, that is the shop I'm at, and I have been at since that time. What did I say? 2024. Early February is when I started. I started right after my birthday. And I was full-time shift lead there for a minute, because then I got mob while I was there. Backstory is, to be a mobster, you have to work in Dutch for a year. And the last time the applications opened right before that, when I was still at that, my second store that I was placed at, I wasn't at my year when they opened. So now that it was finally open, right around when I transferred over, and I got mob April of that year, April of 2024. And I have already grown tremendously as a leader in this point. It's kind of crazy. God, I was such a different leader. I spoke up about everything. And I wasn't doing that as much at the other shop, and I didn't realize that. I did not realize that at all. So I got mob. I was on mob for about a year and a half. I opened 8 stores for Dutch Bros. A lot of them were in California, which I loved. It was so fun, and I learned a lot on the mob, and I was very content with my life. I loved being a full-time lead. I loved traveling and being a mobster. I mean, I was a full-time shift lead for 2 years, and then I realized towards the end of my mob journey, I was like, I think I'm ready. I'm ready for the next step. And I applied for shop lead on my last trip. Literally, I did my interview while I was on the road, and I got promoted while I was on the road. And I was ready to come home. I was ready to stay home and continue to grow in a different way now. So I got my current position that I'm in, and I am now the assistant at Med Center. I've been at this shop for, what year am I in? I said 2024. I've been at Med Center, oh my God, for 2 years. That's kind of crazy. It's the longest I've been at a shop. And I love it. I love it so much. And my next step is a manager, and that's kind of crazy to think about. I think, as I've spoken about, this job has changed the trajectory of my life and has just allowed me to grow so much as a person. Before working here, did not care if I didn't get my assignments in on time. I didn't care if I failed a class. I was blowing through money. I was going to every concert I could go to. I was buying these things. I was going out all the time. I was not going to the gym. I was eating whatever the hell I wanted to eat. And now all of those things are so different. I was on the dean's list. I get all A's. I save money. I have a savings. I've paid off a huge amount of credit card debt. I have lost 50 pounds. I've ran a half marathon. I never would have done that. Even a year ago, I'll be honest. If a year ago, I'm talking to myself, I'm like, you ran a half marathon. I said, I would laugh in my face. But it's like, these are the things I want to accomplish. And not only that, but like the way I viewed myself and I thought of like what I deserved in a relationship matter, in a relationship matter. I, 2 years ago, I would have been like, oh, whatever, who cares? This is what I think I want. That's not what I wanted. I am in such a happy and healthy relationship currently with my girlfriend Gabby. And it's so crazy to think I'm an adult, and that's crazy to think about. I think from where I started, and here I am. So that's a little bit about my story. And now I kind of want to talk about a specific topic. I want to try and talk about 2 things, but I definitely want to talk about one and kind of hit on it a little bit about how important it is while I was talking about my story. But I want to talk about change. And I want to talk about change in a healthy way. That doesn't mean there aren't lows of change, but changes are scary. Changes are scary for a lot of people. I have experienced change in many different aspects of my life. I feel like I have a lot to give up here in this dome of mine. I've experienced change on a family level, on a career level, honestly. Before this, I wanted to be a lawyer. Dramatic. Pause for dramatic effect. Of my job. And I think a lot of times the people who are watching this a little bit more right now are more of our Dutch Bros people or our friends. And a lot of change happens at Dutch Bros. A lot. Whether that's you making a move, your management switching up. Like, it's scary. And it's funny, I interviewed for a second job the other day. Just because I just need more money. I love my job, but in the position I'm in, it doesn't pay me too much, and that's okay. I love my job. And because I love my job, I just have to get a little side hustle. But I'm super excited for that. But at my interview, I thought it was funny because one of the questions that they asked me was, how do you handle change? And I kind of smiled just for a second. And I said, to be quite frank, I think I handle change like a freaking boss. Like, the amount of change I've gone through in my life is kind of crazy. And that's what made me think about wanting to talk about this today, because I think for a lot of people, it's just such a scary thing and a scary thing to even talk about. I think it gets super scary when you're just a barista or a shift lead and you suddenly get a new manager. I think you draw so close to your managers that you have while you're at Dutch Bros. That's just the environment that is always given, I think. And I don't even want to say lose that person, because most of the time people just kind of shuffle them around. But it's something that's so scary, and sometimes people are so not open-minded with it. But you need to have an open mind when it comes to change, all the time. Change is scary, change is frustrating, change is sad. But you're going to realize how essential change is to your growth. And that all the time may not even correlate to just work, but as a person. As I spoke about, I've been at 3 different shops. I have worked for 4, 5. I'm about to go on my 6th manager that I've worked for, because we're shuffling it around again next week. And each time was hard. Each time was very hard. For me, the second and the third ones were super hard. For me, emotionally, because I created such good friendships with those 2 specifically. And even like the first one, I get super emotional. And it was short and sweet, but that was my first manager, it's crazy. And I knew it was hard, and I feel like that's when I don't even want to say I had a negative outlook, because I was excited for like the next person that I was getting, but at some points I was like, don't leave. But I didn't know this then. I learned something huge from each next manager that I worked under and worked for. And that's really how you got to look at it. I think it really circles back to, sometimes people look at a glass and they look at it half empty, or they look at it half full. And I really think it just depends on how you perceive it. And I want you to know it's normal. Change is freaking normal. And it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, and don't be afraid to ask questions when there's change. Do not be afraid to ask questions. ask as many questions, because then it shows that you actually care, and it shows that like you want to learn more. And it can literally be why, and the why could really be just because, like, and learn to be okay with that. Learn to be okay with the uncomfortable. That will make you a stronger leader, I think. I think that is what I'm currently also working on. I know I've talked a lot about my current work goal and like wanting to help grow the want to be a shift lead. But my personal goal right now is to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. I think a lot of the times I let myself get comfortable with something before I do it. Sometimes you just gotta freaking do it. Jump off the edge. Have fun with it. Take it one thing at a time, one obstacle at a time. Because that's just what change is. Change is uncertainty. Change is new. You don't know how to go about it. You don't know what you need to do. But you'll learn, and you'll figure it out, and you'll get through it. You will get through whatever it is in any aspect of life. And it's so cool how much you're going to be able to grow from something like that, from any change you conquer in your life. You grow from it. It might be a little bit, it might be a lot. I've had some change that I was like, oh, I feel like that did nothing for me. But it actually did. It was just so small I didn't notice. There is something you can take away from every situation in life. And in terms of leadership, it really helps shape you into a phenomenal leader. So don't be afraid. Never be afraid. It's okay to be a little afraid. It's okay. But don't run away. That's what I want to tell you. Don't run away. It's okay to be afraid. It's scary, like I've said several times now in the past few minutes. But just don't run away. Give it time. Give it a second. Give it a chance. Always give something a chance. And you'll learn like why it's like that right now, and why it was like that then, and why it's going to be like that in the future. There's always a reason for everything, and a reason why you're at certain places in certain times of your life. And I stand on that business. I think this personal one-on-one has been pretty freaking sick. So let's do this again, and I'll talk about that next topic. But thank you for listening to what I have to say in my side of the story, in my story. And now let's go hit a little outro with me. Hey guys, it's me again. I know you've seen my face this whole episode, but I just want to genuinely thank you for being here with me and listening and watching me get a little emotional, because that is just how I feel about this. But I think it also shows you how passionate I am. I really hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait for the next time we get to do a little something like this, a little one-on-one, if you will. This podcast has been so freaking fun. Culture in a Cup, I love you. I'm actually super excited because I am going to proceed with this. I know it's been for just a class. If you didn't know, this has been a podcast for one of my capstone classes I'm taking, but I love it. I love this. It's super cool. So it's something I'm going to plan to continue, and I can't wait for the growth here and for you. I hope from the little bits that you've heard that it's helped you in some way, shape, or form. And there might be a little bit of a pause, but trust, I'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back together, trust. But it's been fun. We're going to take a little bit of a break. I got to lock in on my personal life to graduate college, so I'm super excited. This is our last full episode for just a little bit. Just a little bit. It's never the end. But I can't wait to come back to you guys and get to speak with so many different people. And so for what's in store, I'm so excited because everyone's literally so different from each other. And I think there's so many different people in the world. So why would I not have a variety of different people on here for you guys to hear from and learn from and for me to chit chat with? Because not only is it you guys learning from these people, it's me having a deeper understanding with these people and continuing to learn more from them. So it's super cool. So until next time, it's been fun, but this is Culture in a Cup. I'll see you guys later.